morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Realtor Avery.
Good
I'm
morning,
making
Chuck.
I'm making a point to use your Instagram handle in our communication. Realtor Avery. Boom.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have an exciting topic for today. I think this is going to be one of our faster paced shows because we can also tell, Chuck, that you are at our training facility getting ready to do a class this morning. So that's exciting.
It is
Uh,
exciting,
we have quite a few new people getting into real estate right now. And I
right?
think that is wonderful. I know in my office, I have two that started within the last 60 days. I've got two more onboarding this month. So if you think now's not a good time to start a real estate career, I think you could be mistaken. It is a good time
I
to
think
think
it's a
about a
great
career in
time.
real
We're
estate.
talking about like a major table reset has just happened in the last 30 days. As Hannah, we've been preparing for it for over a year. I had somebody brought something up to me yesterday about something their broker was doing, and I said, I go, oh, you mean that thing that we did like 2 months ago? Oh, yeah, great, good for
Yeah.
them. They're caught up. Good for them.
Yeah.
So
So we're ready to go. We have
yeah.
training going on all the time, new people joining all the time. So not a shameless plug for that, but a shameless plug like, hey, if you want to get into real estate and you've got people telling you now's not the time, come talk to one of us because we will tell you it is a good time. There's a
Listen,
lot of reasons why it's a very good time.
I've always been an opposites realtor. Like if everybody else, if everybody else is going here, then I want to go over there. If everybody else wants blah blah blah, then I want ding ding ding, whatever,
And it
right?
works. It definitely
Whatever. And
works.
and and I because why fight? Why be in all the fish? I'd rather I'll go over in this pond. There's fewer fish, and I can go. And I'll make it work. So
Exactly.
no, I agree 100%. I think it's a fantastic time to get real estate, especially when you're starting out and you realize, and you're going to have hopefully you're going to have a mentor. You're going to someone you're working with. And I remember feeling myself when I was starting, I go, oh my gosh, well, they're going to hire my mentor. Look at this. This person's amazing. This person's learned everything there is to learn. They've probably learned and forgotten more than I'll ever even learn. And they're going to hire that person, but it's not how it worked out. Right. And we just went through this, like I said, a major table reset. So now, I guess what, Lisa, now you said before in other shows, you've been licensed longer than myself. I've been licensed 10 years, right? 10 years, good chunk of time, proud of my 10, but you've been licensed longer. I don't know how many, but let's say more than 10 years.
Yes.
Guess what? How much experience have you had since August 17th? Exactly the same as me, right? We have
Right.
exactly the same experience in the new table reset. So if you're thinking of coming on and being a realtor, this is a great time because you're going to have the same experience as everybody else in the new, the adjustments, the way things have changed a little bit.
Yes.
So you say a
And
little
I
bit.
think the other thing is, and it leads into what we're talking about today with our Hannah how-to focus. Real estate is always changing. It is a job that is always
Right?
evolving, whether it's new laws, maybe it's something from the state, maybe it's something national, whether it's new technology. It's always evolving. And you as a realtor are always learning. You're always doing things a
Yeah.
little bit differently. We're going to talk about open houses today. Well, when I was licensed 37 years ago, we did open houses, but we do them differently now than we did all those years ago. Now, there are some things that we still do exactly the same, right? We still greet people when they walk in. We still build rapport and build relationships with people who we're interacting with in the property. But so much else of that process is different. And so that's what we want to talk a little bit about today is how to do an effective open house in 2024. What should buyers and neighbors expect when they come to an open house in 2024, right? Like
Yeah.
I think about it. I think about an article many years ago that I read, and it was a famous person talking about their experience in buying a house and getting a mortgage, and the person made the comment like, you should expect a TSA level pat down when you are applying for a mortgage, right? But this person didn't have the experience of buying a mortgage. And it's like, yeah, but it's been like that for a while, right? Like, if I'm going to give you a $500,000, I'm going to get some information from you before I give you that money. And when you say it that way, it doesn't sound so shocking.
Well,
But
and
with
just
an open house, it is changing. It is evolving.
right. Well, and letting everybody know. So, I mean, when you're getting that mortgage, talk about T's having to be crossed and I's having to be dotted, and they go, oh my God, well, why am I getting a TSA level pat down? Well, because if there's a mistake and then something happens after closing and all of a sudden some commitment, the mortgage commitment isn't being made in a timely manner, and they find out that there was a mistake that happened, that something wasn't verified, guess what? That mortgage company, they get to buy back that mortgage.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that. And I don't blame them. Right. So there's a lot of risk in there for the mortgage company. But the other side of that too is, we like to talk about stats. We like to talk about numbers. We kind of have a show. We focus on that, but every once in a while hey, here's an opportunity. I think part of the changes we went through post, what was it called? Great Recession back in 2008 to 2010. Mm-hmm. The changes we went through, that lending went through with RESPA and all that, the fact now that people feel like they're getting a TSA level pat down, I think that's part of the reason why, like, I know a lot of people feel like real estate's been moving up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and like any bubble, eventually, boop, it pops, right? But our buyers are so well vetted right now. Yes. So that's the change, that it feels like we're going through a traditional bubble, yet every I has been dotted, T has been crossed, the vetting on the buyers and now the mortgage holders has been so thorough that that's protected. I think all this value that we've built into real estate over the last 5 years, which has been, we've been in a catch-up period. I feel like we were really undervalued back in 2018, 2019, and now we're catching up. But the fact that TSA level pat down, I think, has protected us from a big fall.
Correct.
Right? Which is great for homeowners.
Yes. And it goes to the idea that, yes, it was so easy, and then it felt like it was so hard to get a mortgage, and now we're coming back into that leveling off. And it's interesting. So, talking about open houses and what to do for open houses and to prepare as an agent, we have like this 8-page handout that goes over all these different things that an agent can and should do to get ready for an open house. And, a lot of it, in looking at it, concentrates on working with your mortgage consultant, right? Like talking to First Priority. Some agents, and again, we're weaving safety into everything that we do this month, especially. Some agents will also bring someone else with them to an open house, right? It's nice to have a second person at your open house. And why not have that second person be a mortgage consultant? Have someone there to talk about financing, because now one of the other things at an open house that as an agent that you want to do, and as a consumer you want to expect, is some financing information. Like, okay, I'm walking into this house. This house is priced at $325,000. What will it cost me to buy the house, and monthly and upfront? So our mortgage consultants are going to prepare usually at least 3 different options, right? Here's 3 different ways you could buy the house. VA 0 down, FHA 3.5% down, conventional 20% down, avoid your mortgage insurance, whatever the different parameters are. And you're going to be able to look at those options. So when you're getting ready for an open house, as an agent, we want to be prepared with some of the questions that we're going to be asked, right? So be prepared with, here's other houses for sale in the area, right? Like, I'm holding this house open. It might not be the right house for everyone who walks in the door. What else is available, either in this neighborhood at different price points, or at this price point in other areas? Right? Because when you walk into an open house, that's the exciting thing about it, right? You go to an open house. If I've just seen there's a few different types of people going to open houses, and as the realtor, we want to attract all of those people, right? Again, talking about how things have changed. When I started in the business many years ago, we were told If you need more than 3 directional signs to get to the house, it's probably not a good open house candidate because people are going to get lost. Well, as Chuck pointed out, I started in the business before the age of GPS, right? If I find the house online, if I found your Facebook post about the open house, I'm putting that house in my GPS. I'm not even looking at your signs, right? I know the house. I know how much it is, how big it is, and now I want to get inside. But you still are going to put the signs out because maybe I'm just driving to visit a friend who lives in the neighborhood and I'm like, "Oh wow, I love my friend's neighborhood. I didn't know something was for sale. I'm going to pop in." Now that person knows nothing about the house. They don't know. I saw the first corner sign. I don't even know. Is it a ranch, a 2-story? Is it a 4-family house? I don't know anything about it. I don't know the price, the square footage. So now when I walk in, it's just, exciting. Curtain goes up. I walk in. I don't know what kind of show I'm going to see. And I may or may not fall in love with it. So as the agent, you need to be prepared for both of those people. And if we both walk in at the same time, which frequently happens, right? You may go to an open house and there's like 10 people in the house at once, or you walk in and you're the only one. And as a realtor, in our area, we do a lot of, 1 to 3 open houses and we get that 2:30 slow down, right? And then it peaks back up again at 2:45. So, it's interesting how those trends happen.
Yeah, I love to tell stories, and for the agent hosting an open house, anytime another agent, especially when I was starting out, I wasn't a heavy list agent. I didn't walk right in and just boom, everybody was calling me to list their property for sale. And I built my business in the beginning, first few years, doing a lot of open houses. And one agent asked me if I'd host her open house and hold our house open, and I said absolutely, let's do it. And so then people came to see the open house, and then they called their agent, and their agent zipped right over, and they walked through it, and yeah, they wrote a great offer, and the seller accepted it, and so the list agent made a listing sale, and the buyer's agent made a buyer sale, and there's me in the middle of the open house, like, hey, everybody, so happy for you. And I really was. So that there's maybe a little, but I really was really happy. And
Yes.
but you know what? The owners of the property, they knew that this sale was coming as the result of this open house.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to the office a couple days later to thank me specifically, for doing this event for them. And then, you know what? A year and a half later, guess who called? Their kids called. They called me about listing their house, and then and I ended up listing their house and selling it, and then the house that they bought. So doing an open house, literally, I ended up doing 3 transactions 18 months later and earning a really nice commission. I was very happy about. So you
Again,
don't always get the fruit from the open house tree. Doesn't always fall. It's until a year and a half later, or even
yes.
longer, right? So, and it was really great. And then that guy, that client, they've referred me a couple clients since. So that didn't end there. It resulted in a couple more sales since then. So
I think too, when you're looking at, going back to picking an open house, right? And now we think about picking open house times. I said Sunday 1 to 3. For the longest time, that was the only time people did open houses, right?
yeah.
Now we have 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 12 to 2, Wednesday nights, twilight open houses. We do all kinds of activities to give different options because people can have the availability to go different times. I notice we've got some people watching in Lewiston. So thank you, Gina and Carolyn. And one of the questions that comes up is like, so Lewiston, New York, beautiful, beautiful town, festivals all the time, right? We have an office in Ellicottville, New York. And I can remember when I was working down there and managing an office in Ellicottville during the festivals, it was like, okay, do you do an open house during a festival? Do you consider that? So I'm going to watch here. I am watching a little bit of the comments. I'm going to see if Gina and Carolyn are going to share what's their best festival strategy, right? Like, so if you're having a festival in your town,
Yeah.
Do an open house. If it's in the area, let people say, wow, if I want to come to the jazz festival and if I lived here, I could just walk, right? In my area and in many cities with NFL sports, we look at the football schedules to know, okay, is this going to be an issue? And sometimes sometimes it's because, oh, everybody wants to watch the Bills instead of being at an open house. But it's also because I live one town from the stadium. So if there's a listing that's in Orchard Park, New York, and it's a home game, you don't want to have an open house during that home game because traffic. It's going to be difficult to get to your open house. I've had situations where agents have a house open and they will like if it's during a Bills game, because again, let's face it, not everyone watches football every Sunday. You'll have
Maybe,
people walk
maybe,
in and they'll say, if the game's on, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know the score. I'm taping it, right? And so you'll just have to have that kind of
maybe
reaction.
we should host the open house like on a Sunday from 4:30 to 6:30. So after the game's over, they instead of fighting with the traffic when the game's over, they can just come over and check out your open house.
Stop
And
at my open house, right?
that talk about a win-win. I mean, that's a Bills win and finding your forever home. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
It'd be great.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, so think about schedules, think about timing, also think about working together. I can remember not so long ago, I did list a property. And there were a few houses in the area from 3 different brokerages. And we all got together and we said, let's we did a twilight open house because the houses all had lake views on Lake Erie. And we did a joint twilight open and we all cross promoted each other. And out of those 4 properties, I believe 3 out of the 4 sold pretty quickly. And then the last one, and we stayed in touch, like, hey, how'd it go? And we sent buyers between the open houses. And that was a great way. And people really liked the opportunity to see more. And then, okay, so Gina, thank you. Gina says that they do opens before the festival, and they also invite people that come into our festivals to go to the open houses. So it is, again, great cross promotion. So thank you, Gina. Yeah, like, start that way, right?
Another thing about the open house is not only is it a chance for you to for you to get your name on it, right? Real estate, I say every time, guys, your branding is your name, right? You associate with your brokerage has built a brand. The only thing you need to do is customize it with your own name. Okay, great. But the other thing with your open house is it's a chance for you to let everyone know who comes, just what a professional you are, what you know about the market. One of the great things you can do is you're trying to sell this house, absolutely. But a lot of these buyers they're open house visitors. They would love to know if there's 5 other open houses they can look at. So have a list, right, of all the other houses in a similar market to what you're listing, right?
Mm-hmm.
that are open, and say, here you go. Here's 4 other houses you can go take a peek at. Hey, oh, and by the way, has anyone explained a purchase and sale contract to you yet? No? Okay, well, great. Well, you know what? I've got time. Every time I do an open house, I set time aside later in the afternoon at 4:00 to meet with a buyer from that open house to go over a purchase and sale contract. Would you like to take that appointment with me? And they might say, they'll probably say, you know what? No one has gone over that with us. We would love to see that. We do want to know what kind of a contract and agreement we're going to be entering into. It's a great time to learn about contingencies. It's so set that time aside, go for that appointment. And if you do that, and then you have another chance to mention that house that you just held open to try to sell for your seller.
Right. And I think it goes to, again, we talked about at the beginning that, there are changes that have happened and the way that you look at houses is different. But again, this tip is for anyone watching who's not a realtor hosting an open house, but you're somebody who wants to go to an open house or buy a house. You can walk into that open house without first meeting with a realtor. So it's right. You're available to just walk in and see it. And so that's a great way if you're just starting the process. If you don't know a realtor, if you don't know who you're going to work with yet, Chuck made a good point. You get a chance to interact, you get to have conversations, and you can say, yeah, I feel like this person could be my advocate, could be my my person to help me buy this property. And so again, for an agent, you want to bring this, our buying guide, have copies of this with you at the open house, give it to people. This is a nice streamlined version about what's going to happen in the home buying process. We've talked about this before, but to your point, Chuck, if I have just fallen in love with this house, I'm so excited. It is just exactly what I want. Now is not the first time to look at that 13-page in Erie County, 13-page contract that you're going to have me sign. I am too excited to read those 5 pages of attorney written additional terms and conditions, right? So to take a breath and to say, hey, let's talk about what the next steps are. I think that's huge, right? Especially if I've walked in cold and I say, well, no, I don't have a suitcase full of cash. Who's going to give me that money to help me buy this house? And now I need to have that conversation, right? Yeah. So it's a great way to start that conversation. And I love, Chuck, that you said, have some times of like know in your mind what your availability is, because if I'm that green buyer who walked in and I don't even know how this works, and there are 4 other people looking at the house and they all have questions and they all want your time and attention, I don't want to just sneak out the side door and feel like, oh, I guess this house wasn't for me. I want to be able to have you say, hey, I know it's busy. Here's my card. Let's talk. Let's set an appointment to go over. Or you know what? The open house ends at 2. Would you like to come back at 2:05? I'll stick around and you can have some time to take a look at the house when it's not so crowded. So as the agent, you want to be ready, right? Or guarantee that someone's going to love the house. If you're doing an open house from 1 to 3 and you tell your friends, I'll meet you at the beach at 3:30, guaranteed someone is going to love that house and they're going to want to stay late and talk about it, right? Because that's typically what happens. If you have no plans after the open house, well, then you're just picking up your signs at 3:15 and you're fine. But yeah, you never, but all kidding aside, keep your time open after the open house because you may want to be talking to someone.
The other thing I want to point out about doing an open house is, it's a little bit of a misnomer, right? I mean, it's open. Okay, it's an open house. Everybody can come through. Yet that doesn't mean we're just okay. I unlock the doors. I advertise on the paper. It's on the website, and I'm open. Whoever wants to come. That doesn't mean you can't be strategic in any way about inviting specific people to come to this event, right? So who are some of the best people to invite to the open house?
I know.
Go ahead, answer.
The neighbors,
right? Of course. And the neighbors go, well, I live. Why the heck would I want to come? Well, you might want to help get a feel for what things are selling in your neighborhood. And number 2, you might know somebody. Now you become an advocate, a helper, a co-marketer to help me sell this property. And now you're getting something from you with your branding, your name into the neighbors' lives, so they know that you're busy. You are an active realtor. You're taking steps. This is what you do, right? You don't miss out on any opportunity to sell their house for the highest possible price, for their greatest possible benefit, right? That's you are being vetted during these open houses often by neighbors. And when they get an invite from you, they tell you, they say, because I know that they say, thank you for that invite. I got your invite. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like they literally say, thank you. You're not inconveniencing them, right? And then later they came and you can send them a thank you card for coming to your open house. And boom, you're just, how many touches is it you need to make with somebody before you're probably doing business with them? It's probably 8 to 12 touches, right? So this is starting that thing. Maybe when they come, you've got something there about getting your home value, your estimate, right, through our buy side tool or one of the other things that we have. And you could say, great, thanks for coming. Hey, click here and you could get this and it would give you an update. Would you like that? Right? I'm a permission-based realtor. I love asking for permission. And when they are ready to give you permission when they can see you, now they're in relationship with you. And guess what? It's beautiful. You can unsubscribe anytime. It's awesome. Like love unsubscribing. My emails, once a week when I go through my emails and I go unsubscribe, 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 I love it.
I think that,
On a
yeah,
different topic.
and that's totally true. I love, even that idea of, you said inviting the neighbors and maybe even doing a neighbor preview. If I'm going to do my open house 1 to 3, I might do a neighbor preview from 12 to 1. Like, hey, neighbors, come on in. And sometimes they like it too, because if they know, they feel more comfortable. Like, many times they are curious. They do want to know what's happening in their neighborhood, but they don't want to waste your time. And so if you say, hey, no, for this half hour beforehand, come for the neighbor preview, and check it out, see your neighbors. And like you said, they're going to know about the property. Security, safety, obviously it's safety month. To your point, Chuck, where you said it's not a free for all, right? We do want to know who's in the house. We do owe it to our sellers to know who's in their home. Now, yes, we're telling them to take their valuables. Don't leave cash, jewelry, money, medicine laying around. That all should be removed for the open house. So as an agent, you're telling your sellers, please do it. We have some nice insulated Hannah tote bags. I always say, give one of those to your seller, fill it with your valuables and any medicine that needs to be refrigerated. Take it with you for the afternoon.
That's a great idea. That's awesome.
Yes. And then when the people are coming in, we do need a record. So again, when I started many years ago, it was that handwritten sheet of paper, that people put their name. Now we use QR codes. Right now you walk in, you scan the QR code, you give your name, you give your information. I love it because I never like to write. I mean, even, when you used to have to sign in at the pharmacy, right now, at least they slide that thing over. So you're not seeing who just picked up a prescription. Same thing with an open house. I didn't like having my name, address, and phone number for anybody who came after me to read.
Yeah.
That didn't make me feel safe as a person looking. Now you use the QR code. No one is seeing my name and address and phone number, and they're moving forward. So it's a great security for the agent, for the owner. And again, just like you said, Chuck, most of us realtors, we're relationship permission based. If you walk in, you give us your name and address, you tell us that you're working with another realtor, we're going to say, that's wonderful. Glad you have representation. I'll contact your agent if I have any questions, or you contact your agent if you'd like to see it again. We're not going to bother the heck out of you. We're going to stay in touch. Maybe something's happened on the house. Maybe there's another offer. We want to make sure you know about that. So if you did want to do something, you and your agent can put something together. But that's not a reason to not sign in and give us our.
No, we're in relationship with the other realtors. Chances are we've maybe had a transaction in the past, or we're maybe on a committee together for to help support homeowners all across New York State. So we are that's just a great reason to call them and say and have a nice conversation, right? Yes, are we competitors? Of course, but what do you call it? Co-opetition, or there's lots of different ways to put those two words together. But we're gonna have a nice conversation, and we're gonna say, hey, guess what? Your buyers came to my open house. They like this, they didn't like that, and whatever.
And believe it or not, Chuck,
all the time, they're critical. It's really fantastic.
And sometimes when you're holding an open house, even if it's your listing, there's someone asking you a question you don't know the answer to. And you've got to find out that information and get back to them. So it may be that, hey, Chuck, your client came to my open house. They had a question about the HVAC that I didn't have the quick answer to. Here's the answer. Please let them know. Right? Like, and again, that's an interesting nuance in the real estate business, is that we work for different companies, but we work together. Right? It's kind of an interesting dynamic. But yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I got Fast Start today, and my Fast Start class, part of what we're talking about, the end of class, is open houses. So I think I'm going to get to let everybody go early, because I've got this is on our big screen right now in the room. So they've all been watching.
Good.
So early dismissal looks like at Fast Start today. I'm excited.
New agents in the room and anybody listening, make sure you're buying. If you've got your end of the year spend on marketing and you're like, oh, I need to keep investing, custom open house signs. Get your name, your photo, your phone number on your open house signs. It's a great way to do some extra promotion for yourself, especially if you're a heavy agent in a particular neighborhood. every time you do an open house and you're inviting the neighbors and they're seeing your signs and they're seeing your open house signs, it's a great way to keep that momentum going that, hey, if you live in, Green Acres, I am your Green Acres agent.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you say you live in Green Acres?
I did. Yes, because that's who I'm named after, Lisa Douglas. Anyway, fun fact. All right. So have a wonderful class, Chuck, and we will see you all next time on our real estate show.
All right, go see an open house. All right, cheers.